What's going on, beautiful people? Happy International Women's Day. You know, I had to come on here and share some financial gems for my ladies, okay? I'm going to be joined by a special guest. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, beautiful people? How are you? How are you? Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday, it's International Women's Day. I wanted to come on here and share some really powerful money tips for women. So I am going to have a special guest joining me. She should be hopping on at any moment now. But what's up, beautiful people? Hey, I don't know you, Chili, but what's up? I'm glad you're here. How you feeling? How are y'all living? What's going on? What's new? It's funny because I've kind of been on this, I called it like a 48-hour tour. So I've been on 6 or 7 48-hour trips in the last month or so. And it's been surprisingly healing. So, hey, lovely, how are y'all? I'm going to be talking about powerful money tips for women. Happy International Women's Day. Super, super excited for this topic. I haven't been on live in a while. I was on Friday. Anybody catch the live on Friday? It was me and Brian. We were just kind of going back and forth. It was really funny. Did y'all catch that live at all? So I was talking about these 48-hour trips that I've been doing that have been just really healing for me. Yeah, so the 48-hour trips, it wasn't intentional, but it was like, it just kind of happened. And then I realized that they were like piling on top of each other. And I realized that they were very cleansing. It was like a form of self-love and like a form of like cleansing for my soul almost. So for those who don't know, I'll kind of catch you up on what's been going on with me for literally the last 6 months of my life. I had a dog that I had for 8 years, right? And I don't have any kids, so that was like my child. If you know me, that was my baby. I called him my son. A little pocket purse dog. He went everywhere with me, and he passed away suddenly in October. And so it was like, okay, my life was kind of reset in a way, because there were certain things that I talked about doing that I hadn't done because, I was like, oh, I have my dog and I got to worry about him and blah, blah, blah. So then it was like the opportunity came where it was like, okay, what are you really doing out here? Like, is it your dog or is it you, or what's going on here? And so I was faced with these okay, put your money where your mouth is, move, do what you said you were gonna do. And so then I just started this series of literal 48-hour trips. So it started with a trip to Miami right after his passing, and it was a solo trip. I end up meeting up with people almost everywhere I go, but it was a solo trip. And so in that trip, I had a lot of time to just kind of think about things and to create my next steps for life. Hey girl, what's going
Hey,
on?
how are you?
Good.
The lighting is not the greatest, but all the lights are on in here, so it's just gonna work. Let's see.
Girl, nobody's worried about that. They're trying to hear these money tips. And before I pulled you on, I was talking about my 48-hour trips and how those were my solo trips have been super cleansing. Honestly, for my soul. I think I've done 6 or 7 in the last 6 weeks.
Nice. What?
So,
We're out here.
what's up, beautiful people? Happy International Women's Day. We felt the need to come on here and share with, our ladies, our listeners. Hey guys, you guys are important too, but today's about the women. We want to give y'all some financial gems, right? Of course, talk about how, powerful money is and how much more I think empowered you really can be having a few coins in your pocket.
Hey, an abundance of coins, right?
I know you're on the trip right now, right?
I am. You were saying you've been on 6 solo trips in the past 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's been about 6 weeks. So before you hopped on, I was saying how it wasn't intentional. It didn't start out as intentional, oh, I need to take these trips to clear my mind.
Right.
But it was kind of they just kept happening and happening, and it was oh wow, me being able to get out of my element, like out of my everyday kind of routine, the normal rut, like it gave me an opportunity to think and to
Right.
feel like more clear about things. And then when was I was talking, oh, I was talking on Friday on live with my friend Brian, and he was like, yeah, but you know, you need money to be able to do that. Like, to be able to just pick
Oh
up. He was
yeah,
like,
that's right.
you need money to do that. And he was like,
Yeah.
you need systems in your business to be able to just pick up and go.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I was just talking about how cleansing it was for my soul.
Right.
And then you just happen to be on a trip right now.
Yeah, Mexico City, you know. So I decided to go because my husband was going on a skiing trip, and I've only been on one solo trip out of the country before, and this was like right before the pandemic. So like I've always wanted to go on another one, but you know, when you're with a significant other, sometimes it's like, hey, I want to go on a trip by myself. You know, you don't want to just be like, yo, you know. So since he was going on a skiing trip, I don't really ski. He was going with the guys. I was like, no, perfect time to just do something solo. So I know personally for me, when I'm doing a solo trip, it just helps me build like almost more confidence in myself when I'm going out of the country, just because like sometimes, a lot of times I don't speak the language. I don't speak Spanish. I really don't know anything about this place, but just coming to a new place by myself, having to figure it out by myself, having to rely on myself, it's just like almost brings like another level, like I said, of confidence and just like freeing, and of course like clearing and freeing of thy soul, you know? So it's so much fun.
Yeah, I can see that being like really freeing for
Yeah,
sure.
right.
I think for me, like I think about a lot of the confidence piece with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about how the stats say, you know, 52% of women are confident with their finances
Mm,
compared to 69% of men. And I like to think about why that is.
yeah.
And I made this post while you're on here. You can click the eyes right here. Make sure that you're following us. Make sure you're getting all of these gems. But I'd like to think about how we tell people, but I'm talking specifically about women.
Yeah.
We tell women to be humble, right? All the
Yep.
time. Like, oh girl, be humble. Like, don't be out here showing what you have and doing all this and you know, building your head up. Don't do all of that. Like, uh the true definition of humble is lessening your importance,
Mm,
right? Like that's what being humble is.
right.
And I personally think that a lot of things in life, like you know, just society, marketing, like all of this stuff is positioned to make women feel like we're not enough, right?
Mm,
All of the filters, all of the makeup commercials, right? The waist
absolutely.
trainers, all of the, it's made us, you know, it's made to make us feel like we're not enough, because then if we feel like we're not enough, we'll spend money to become enough.
Right.
And I think that that affects our confidence and it
Absolutely.
makes us less confident as
Mm,
individuals. And if you're less confident as a woman, then you're going to be less confident managing your money.
right, right. And this is something I talk about with my ladies in Power Over Money. It's like women are socialized and groomed to be like, oh, play nice, be a nice girl, you know, be nice to your friends, don't get dirty, be polite. And when it comes to guys, it's like, no, you go out there, you go fight, you know, you get dirty, you rumble in the grass with your friends. No, if somebody's doing this, you tell them, no, this is what you do, you know? So those things might seem like little things when we're young, but as we become adults, it plays out in every area of our life, especially with our money. And I don't know about you, but I know like the men that I'm around, they like talk almost like they're the best thing on earth, like almost like they're not afraid to share when they bought something. They always are like sharing like their accomplishments and what they did and how much money they made. But when it comes to women, that's like not as a frequent conversation, because it's like, I don't want to make anybody feel bad, I don't want it to sound like I'm bragging. So all of that then spills over into our money and leads to the statistic that you just said.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's hilarious. Like, yeah, like men, like you're told to like play football, you know, get dirty. But girls, it's like don't get your tights dirty. Don't mess
Right.
up your skirt, right? And it just bleeds over into everything that we do,
And
right?
then
And
you
so
don't take risk. And then you don't take risk. And we know in order to make money, there is risk involved, you know? So it's always interesting to me to like take it to like the psychology of things and like see how that really plays out in like your bank account. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And for that reason, we end up making better investors than men. All
Mm,
the stats show that women are better investors when we actually invest because
yeah.
we are so like thorough in what we're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've been taught to look at, oh, make sure you check this angle and this is like, I don't know if you ever saw this post, but there was a post that, let me know if y'all have seen this. There was a post that said, somebody had tweeted, was like, ladies, what would you do if there was no men on the earth for 24 hours? And I didn't even know what I was expecting to read after that. Did you see that?
No, I never seen that. No.
Okay. So I don't know what I was expecting, but what I saw after that was a lot of women talking about their safety. Like, oh, I would go out at night and walk around and not worry about, feeling safe or secure. Like a lot of women were like, yeah, I would be outside doing whatever it is that I want to do without having to worry about men like attacking me or, preying on me basically. And that was not what I expected from that post. Like, and
Yeah.
I didn't even take a second to think about what I would do. But
Uh-huh.
I was like, wow. So as women, we're taught that at every corner of life, like you have to be watching your back,
Wow.
right? Everything that you do. And so you become fearful,
Yeah.
right? Like you become scared to take these risks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you figure out like over time, like as women, we actually take better risks because we're more calculated because we have more things that we have to worry about just in life, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, not to mention, we live longer. We
Right.
typically care for the household, right? Like, all of that stuff bleeds over into our money. And
Yeah.
so, when we finally do find that confidence and that ability to take that leap, right? To become that owner, become that boss, really just owning your future, right? Like, when you become like the person who's ready to be in charge of their next steps,
Mm-hmm.
you find out that you're actually really, really good at it.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise! Hello.
Right. No, that's amazing. I didn't realize that. I didn't even know that statistic, so that's awesome. But you saying safety, like, and women being okay with going out at night, like if men weren't around, I feel that now here. Like I'm not going out at night because I don't know what's going down. But I think I want to take a look of how that plays in my money now too, because it's like fear again bleeds into every area, and it's important for us to kind of like get real with that and do what we need to do to conquer that, especially when it comes to our money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's even some kind of stats on women don't even like take that first step to look at their money, like because they're like, oh, well, my boyfriend will do it, or like your husband that you don't even have, you'd be like, oh, my husband will take care of that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Right.
I've been advising for over 8 years now, and I have had a ton of situations where something happens to that husband in
Mm-hmm.
that relationship. Like,
Yeah.
whether he gets sick, gets into a car accident, right? Like, passes prematurely.
Right.
All of these things can happen to any of us.
Right.
And then the problem is when you don't take accountability, you don't take responsibility, you don't try to take that first step to be in control of your money, then you have to move out of a time of crisis. And that's the worst feeling in the world, right? Like, that's how a lot of us felt when 2020 hit. Like, we were moving out of crisis of like, oh my gosh, now we have to figure out what to do in this situation. Let's go buy up all the toilet paper, right?
Right.
Because you're moving out of a position of crisis, right? As
Right.
opposed to planning for things to happen.
Right.
So you should, even as like women, like, I mean, the divorce rate is 50-50.
Yeah.
So not putting that on your relationship, but I'm just saying, like, let's just be prepared.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with being prepared.
Nothing wrong with being prepared. I've had women reach out to me just saying like, my husband has always been the one who's taking care of the finances. And now that we are separating, I really don't know what to do. And honestly, like that's probably the worst time to start learning. And that's not to say that you can't learn, you know what I mean? Obviously you can, but when you've been hit with such like a brick wall at that time, like it's so much easier to already know what you're doing, how to take care of it, opposed to being in this stress mode, this fearful mode, this, oh my gosh, what am I doing mode? And then like, not only is your money affected though, like at that moment in time, like you're having all the emotions, your hormones are going wild. So it just creates a more challenging time to learn about it, for sure, for sure.
It does. And then things get overlooked, right? Like when you're trying to make a decision in crisis, you either like overlook things just because you're rushing, or you make decisions on impulse, right? Like how many of us have gone to the grocery store like unplanned, and you're like hungry when you go?
Right. You buy all the food.
Pull up to the grocery store, like you weren't really ready, but you know you're out, you need to get it done, and you're hungry. And literally, I just did this 2 days ago at Trader Joe's.
Did you? You bought too much?
Where did I go? So I went to Louisiana to play in that celebrity basketball game. And then
by the way, congratulations. I saw that.
MVP, okay? Y'all know it's been 10 years since I was
wow.
But listen, there was a game-winning shot that like I blocked it, right? Like I'm waiting for the footage to come out. It's gonna come out, okay? You guys will see it. I'll have it posted. You'll see my game-winning block. We won by 1 point. But anyways, so
I said looking forward to it.
So I was in Louisiana for that. So then I got back to Atlanta. Like I flew in. It was like, I don't know, hour and a half flight. I fly in. I get my car from the airport, and I'm about to go home. And it's like first thing Sunday morning. And I'm like, okay, I need to stop at the grocery store. I might as well, like, you know, just do my Sunday prep or whatever. Get my little Sunday flowers, you know. So I am walking around Trader Joe's hungry. It was like halfway through my shopping that I realized, I was like, I'm hungry. So I'm moving like out of a position of feeling like almost in a crisis, right? Like you're hungry. So then I'm just buying up all the things, right? Because you start to make these different kinds of decisions when you're moving out of crisis. So we tend to overlook things. And I remember in college, I took a business law class. Right, because I studied business, studied finance. So I took a business law class. And in the business law class, the professor asks, he's like, hey, he was like, I don't understand what's up with fancy watches. He's like, I really do not get it. He was like, I don't understand why people would buy 30, 50, 100,000 watches, like $100,000 watches. Can somebody explain this to me? Right. And he's asking a class of what, like 19, 20-year-olds. Yeah. So I didn't know, but I'm the kind of person, I don't like not knowing the answer to something. And then if you don't give me the answer, now I feel like I have to go find the answer. So I researched it after class, and I was like, oh, so I found out that a lot of men will buy fancy watches as a form of like bypassing a divorce and having more assets in a divorce. So what happens is a lot of times women will overlook the fact that a man has like $120,000 watch, or because she didn't watch the finances close enough, he went and bought this watch as they were like in the process of getting divorced, right? Like before it's finalized, like, because you know it's a period of time where you debate like, should we get divorced or not? Right. So during that period of time, he'll go buy a fancy watch or two, and he'll wrap up a lot of assets in that fancy watch. And then when they get divorced, she ends up getting less because she doesn't realize the value of the watches. Right. Because he manages all of the money and he knows all of the numbers, and she didn't pay attention to anything. So sneaky, right?
Definitely sneaky. Definitely sneaky. What I would suggest, you know, and this is something that Doug and I do, is like having regular meetings, whether you're in a business with your partner, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're working a 9-to-5, like having those monthly meetings around your finances so you know exactly what's going on, the plays that are being made. So, and you don't even have to have your hands all in it. If you feel like your significant other is better at it, they can still do what they need to do, but you do need to have an understanding of what's going on. So God forbid, like you said, if anything happens, a divorce, and I never want to speak that, of course, or health issues, you can slide right in as if nothing was happening. So I know personally for us, we meet weekly just because that's the nature, because we are in business together. And even though we're both not good at the same things, Doug is a finance guy. He went to school for finance. He knows finances. But you best believe I know how to do the same exact thing as him. I might not do it as good as him, but I know how to do it exactly the same way. Because the empire can't crumble because one person got dropped or lost. Like, what? You want to maintain your quality of life, lady. So you got to know. You got to know.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that wild though, y'all? Like, people really do that, right? So there was this show that I used to watch that I loved. I don't know why they only did one season of it, but it was called Untying the Knot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't love it, but it was a show about like high level divorces. It's a show about like multi-million-dollar divorces, right? And
Wow.
so they kind of like talked about that kind of stuff, but you peep game where like these women were a little bit more educated and they were like, no. I know in his closet he has X, Y, and Z. Like that is also valued and should be in our divorce decree, okay? And I
Yeah.
hate talking about it in terms
Yeah.
of something that's like so drastic, but
Mm-hmm.
again, like if we prepare for crisis, it's going to make being in that position a lot harder. I mean, a
Right.
lot easier.
Right.
So I actually ride a motorcycle. Anybody ride a motorcycle or ever been on a motorcycle? Give me a
No.
yes in the chat. Never?
No, I've never, but I think that's so cool that you ride one. What? Maybe.
Yeah.
Hey.
How long has it been? I've been riding for I want to say 5 years now. 4 or 5 years now.
Wow.
So
Can you see comments here? Mine are like frozen. Are yours frozen?
So if you have an iPhone, right? So kind of like swipe up like you're gonna get out of the chat and then bring it back in, and it should refresh your comments.
It didn't, but it's fine. It's all good. No worries.
I usually kind of reset it and it works again.
Okay.
Let me try it again in a minute. But I ride a motorcycle, right? So one day I have a group of women. Shout out to my leader ladies here in Atlanta. But there's a group of us. There's 250 of us in the group. And so sometimes we have these rides. So, you know, after things had kind of calmed down in the summertime of like 2020, we take this ride together. And so I'm on my motorcycle and y'all listen, we were riding in this neighborhood I had never been in. There's like 40 of us and I'm kind of riding close to the back. So there's like maybe 2 or 3 people behind me. So we're in this neighborhood I had never been in before. And they had these really big, really dope houses. Okay. And if you've never been on a motorcycle, there's something very freeing about it. Like it's literally just you and like the world. And so when I'm on my motorcycle, like I like to take in all of the sights because it's just a different element. Unless you have rode or been on the back, like I can't really explain it. You have to be.
Does a moped count?
A moped? It's a house.
Okay, very good. Go ahead. Continue.
So we're riding through this neighborhood of these huge, like, multi-million-dollar houses, and I'm on my bike, and I'm looking like, wow, that's a big house. So guess what happens? I run off the side of the road. So we're literally going around this curve, and there's, like, this big house right here. And so I'm looking at the house, and I end up, like, moving off of, like, so you have, like, the road that goes like this, and then there's, like, a little bit of, like, a dip, right? Like, not a whole ditch, but I'm off the road in the gravel and, like, in the dirt. And if you ride a motorcycle, that's not where you want to be. So my immediate instinct wants to jerk my bike back onto the road. Like, that's your, like, right? Like, when something goes wrong, our immediate instinct is, oh, jerk it back into position, right? Like, get it right. But I knew, like, something in me, because I had started to program myself to be able to move in times of crisis. Like, I assess the situation. This literally happens within like a half a second. I assess the situation. I look at the road and I notice like I'm off the side of the road, but I'm not like in a place where I can get back on the road easily. Like there's like a, you know, I literally slipped off the side of the road. So I waited a little bit, and I just got lucky that the gravel and like the road started to even out to where I could put my bike back on the pavement. I thought I was going down for sure, and I thought all my friends behind me were gonna laugh, and the whole group was gonna be like, "What happened? Everybody else made the turn fine. What were you doing?"
Oh, yikes.
So we get to like a stopping point, and I'm fine. And my friend, she comes up to me, and she was like, "What the hell? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Girl, do you see that house? That house was huge." She was like, "Pay attention to the road." And it was just a reminder to me that I had learned, especially after what happened in March of 2020. I was like, oh, wow, okay, so I really have been training myself, and I have really been working to operate in times of crisis. Because not only did that happen on my motorcycle, but that happened, you know, when things go wrong in the market, right? Because you guys know I'm a financial advisor. So when 2020 hit, I had this, I don't know if it was CNBC or some reporter reached out to me. It was like, hey, how are you preparing your clients for the pandemic? And I was like, I wasn't. Like, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
I was preparing them for a crisis, though. So when something popped off, they were ready.
Absolutely. So how did you prepare them? Like, what are some of the things that you said or helped them?
So it depends on what phase of life you're in, right? But let's assume you're not in retirement. Like, how do you prepare for a crisis? And it's kind of like the same conversation that I'm sure you have with entrepreneurs, where they're like, well, how do I prepare my money for X, Y, and Z? And it's usually like, well, you have to have money. Like, they're like, how do I prepare for a downturn? Well, you have to have money. So you have to have cash or access to cash, right? Capital that you can deploy in down periods. So, you know, I was preparing my clients for a downturn in the market. I wasn't preparing them for a pandemic. Like, I think that preparation would have looked very different from a downturn in the market. But, you know, that's one of the biggest things is like, okay, how do you handle your cash? How do you handle your money? Are you the kind of person who spends every dime that you get, right? And then as an entrepreneur, tax time comes around, you're like, oh man, $30,000 tax bill. I didn't put any money aside. Is that you, right? Or are you really creating a budget every month? Like, I don't even like to call it a budget, right? Like, I like to call it a cash flow plan. Like, what are you doing with your cash that is flowing?
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
Right. Yeah, living below your means. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but I like to kind of coin that and say, like, if you're living below your means, you're essentially living in overflow. Because if you're living below your means, you have more than enough money for your needs, wants, and any emergencies that occur. So I know for us, and again, what I teach my ladies in Power Over Money is like, with a budget, like, we don't want to call it a budget, but it's really just being intentional about how you want to use and circulate your money. And I know a lot of times people will feel like, oh my gosh, this is restrictive, or like, I can't have the things that I really want. But if you really sit down and get intentional about your spending and where your money is going, you'll actually see that you are circulating or spending your money on things that you actually probably don't even want. So when that occurs, you're able to allocate money to places that actually help you in the long run, that actually get you to your goal so much faster. And when you're intentional, you actually start using your money on the things that you want, not what you think you want. So I love the idea of a budget, even though budgets don't sound sexy, or living below your means, even though that doesn't sound sexy. But I know for me and every other entrepreneur that I know that has actually been successful is not living at their means. They're not living at their means. There's no way to survive at your means. You just create more stress. You create more struggle than needs to be. And when a pandemic happens, which hopefully never happens again, but there will be more downturns in the market. That's just how it goes, right? Everything goes in cycles. You'll get left behind. And that's not what we want. That's not what we want at all.
Yeah, I think like taking that first initial step to be in control of your money, like making that first initial decision, I think is one of the hardest parts. Like, I know for me, my decision came like out of crisis. And for those who don't know me, I had a an article that went viral on Market Watch, and the title of it was "I Promised Myself I Would Never Go Broke Again."
Mm-hmm.
Financial advisor's family loses 1.4 million. Kind of got to know my backstory for that, but it was the first line that the person who interviewed me, Marty, excuse me, he came up with that, and he was like, "I promised myself I'd never be broke again," just off of a line that I told him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was literally like where my personal financial journey started at 17 years old, when I promised myself I would never be this broke again, right? Like, and boom, here comes the Never Broke Again course,
Mm-hmm.
which I'll be launching my wait list this weekend. But
Awesome.
literally, like, it's teaching you guys every single step of the way to never be broke again. Like, it's been almost 13 years since I made that promise to myself, and I have not been broke again. And it changes your life drastically. Like, I remember my mom. So I went through this like 6-year abusive relationship, and I remember being in the midst of it, and my mom being like, she was like, "I never wanted you to have to live with a man out of necessity, like out of a need for money, like out of a need to pay your bills."
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, I don't, we didn't even live together at the time, but and actually I never lived with a guy. So but I was like, you know, it came out of her understanding of this, came out of like a need for, okay, you have to be self-sustaining. If you're not self-sustaining, you end up putting yourself into these situations, and especially as women, you end up putting yourself into these situations that you don't need to be in, right? That you shouldn't have to be in. And like, I remember thinking this very vividly, like maybe my early 20s. I think I'd gone to like a party or something, and I was in like an uncomfortable situation, and I was like, I didn't really want to spend the money, but I was like, okay, I could get out of this situation by spending like $40, right? And just thinking to myself, like, I know some of my friends didn't have $40 to be able to get out of a situation, but because I had promised myself I'd never be broke again, I was able to get myself out of that situation, right? Even the abusive relationship I was in my early 20s, like, I was only able to get out of that abusive situation, I believe, because I was taking control of my money, because I was trying to figure out how to get to that next level, right? And I think as women, a lot of times we get stuck in situations that we shouldn't be in, because we don't have control of our money. We don't understand what's going on.
Right. And I feel like that's the story of a lot of women. I don't want to say in our parent generation, but the generation probably before them, is like women were in relationships that did not create the best circumstances for them, whether it was abusive, whether it was the man stepping out and cheating, or whatever. But women stayed because they didn't have the power, they didn't have their money, they didn't have their finances in order. So what else are they going to do? What else are they going to do? And I'm so thankful for like the women empowerment movement and everything that's going on, because I feel like women have gained that power and more confidence to really deal with building businesses, going out there and negotiating their pay for their work, and really understanding that, yo, my money is in my hands. Although we're not where we need to be, I feel like we're so much farther than, you know, where we used to be. So that's a blessing.
I think there's still plenty of work ahead for us to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the end of the day, like, I really just want, like, having just been in the situations I've been in, like, I'm like, damn, I don't want anybody else to ever be in those situations.
Yeah.
So the more guidance that I can give, hopefully the better you like, the less women that will be stuck in that position. And so for me, I'm like, look, first things first, rule number 1, get the money first.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you feel like your budget is kind of like tight, like, comment yes in the chat, okay? Because there's 2 things for you to think about. Like, if you feel like your money is tight, the first thing that I want to express to people is, like, I've had clients who make $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year, and they're like, yeah, but I feel like my cash flow is really tight. Like, why does my cash flow feel tight? Everyone's cash flow should feel tight, because as Lorisa was saying, like, you cannot be living above your means. It doesn't work like that. Like, you cannot build wealth and be financially successful living above your means. You have to live within your means. Like, and that's the first part of, like, taking a look at your budget, your cash flow, your spending plan. are you living within your means? Okay. And if you're like, all right, I feel like I am, but I still feel tight, you may need to just look at making more money. Like, you may need to just hop on YouTube and look at ways to earn more money, right? You may need to get a side hustle. And I think that people will hear this and they get turned off by it. People being women, hey ladies, I think you get turned off by that because you think that it has to be permanent. You forget that in life we go through certain seasons and a lot of things are temporary. It doesn't have to be permanent. It doesn't have to be forever, right? So the situation you're in right now with your money feeling tight, that doesn't have to be forever. The situation of having a side hustle and earning additional income, that doesn't have to be forever. I tell people to make that promise to themselves for a certain period of time. So I say, look, make that promise to yourself for 6 months that you are going to dedicate yourself to earning an additional $2,000 a month. 6 times 2, that's 12,000. How much further ahead financially would you be with an additional $12,000?
And then what are you going to do with the $12,000 so you don't have to keep working overtime or a side hustle or whatever, so that your money is now working for you?
Exactly. And if you are like, the more intentional you are about that, the better the outcome is going to be. Right.
I remember back when I had first moved back from Virginia, this is probably like, I don't know, 10 years ago now. And my student loans, I had forbade them for as long as I could. I went back to school even just so I didn't have to pay them. And then what ended up happening, obviously, like, even though I didn't have to pay them, the interest still accrues and your balance still balloons. So it got to a point where I was like, all right, I can't run from this anymore. And now I have to pay I don't remember the exact amount, but it was pretty much like a rent payment. It was like $1,200 a month for student loans. And I'm just like, yo, how am I ever going to pay this? I have to work overtime just to pay these student loans. So I was like, you know what? All right, whatever. I'm going to work overtime, but I'm not just going to pay my student loans, the balance, or the minimum payment. I'm going to pay an additional. I'm going to make it my goal to pay $2,000 a month. So I was like killing myself trying to pay $2,000 a month. And then I learned that, you know what, Larissa, like, why don't you, and this is important, like, knowledge is important, why don't you just find another loan servicing company, get the interest down lower so that your payments don't have to be super high. And I'm not even going to worry about right now, I'm not even going to be worried about paying extra on those student loans. I'm going to pay what I can. I'm going to pay the minimum amount, and I'm going to take that extra money that I'm using to do overtime, and I'm going to put that into investments so that I don't have to work overtime to pay down my student loans. I can just work my normal, or I can work overtime for a certain amount of time and put that money into investment. Real estate is what I choose. And then that money can be used to put towards my student loan, so I don't have to kill myself forever, right? But it's important to know, and this, I'm sure, is what a lot of Jacqueline teaches. She teaches like the actual, like, tangible steps of how to get there, and they're so important, along with that confidence, so that you actually stick to the plan and don't have to kill yourself for the rest of your life. You might have to kill yourself for a little, just for a period of time, but not for the rest of your life, right? It's like you said, it's only temporary. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about you, but I use Tom's toothpaste. Like, try to keep that enamel clean and clear. Anyways, but that's a good point. Like, and that's one of the main things that you and I talk about, because as we were speaking on earlier, a lot of the hurdle for women is the mindset, right? Because life coaches us to act in this certain kind of a way, and the worst thing we can do is not question the way that society directs us. Right. And so you have to, it was harder for me to explain this pre-pandemic, but it's easier now, right? Like, I was trying to explain to people, I said, look, stop stressing yourself to pay off these student loans. That's literally the best kind of debt that you can have, right? Like, if you graduated from school, then that was an investment you made in yourself to help you earn more income over the rest of your life. Right. So I'm actually proud of you for taking student loans. But also, they have the most flexible repayment plans, like, in all of loan history, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the income driven repayment plans, like especially if you have federal loans, right? Or even, you know, type yes in the chat if you haven't been paying on your loans for the last like 2 years. Okay, like also understand that those loans, those federal loans, are discharged if you become disabled or if you pass away. Like, when else is that happening? Nobody's forgiving your mortgage if you become disabled or if you pass away, right? So it's like, that's one of the most flexible kinds of loans that you can pay back. But until somebody helps you grasp that in your mind of like,
Right.
okay, you need to use your assets to pay down these debts. Like, until somebody flips that trigger for you, you don't know, right?
Right.
That's why the ignorance tax is so big. Like, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And it's like, where can your money best be used at this time? Is your money better with Navient, Sally Mae, whoever has it? Is your extra money doing better there, or is it doing better with you or in an investment? It's always going to be doing better with you or in an investment, because if you can make more in percentage wise than what you're paying in interest with whatever loan you're using, whether it's your car loan, whether it's your mortgage, whether it's your student loans, then it would behoove you to look into that investment a lot more stringently to see if that's something that you would want to move in. Because if you can make more, again, than the interest that you're paying, then your money is best used in that investment and not paying extra. Of course, you want to pay your minimum payment. Pay a minimum payment, and you don't want to get nothing, on your credit. But don't need to pay over. And I know for a lot of people, like paying down debt is their focus. And of course, if your interest, depending on what that debt is, because some debt is good debt, but we don't like rush to pay down our debt. We don't rush to pay down our debt because we're making more money, and you could be making more money when you don't do that. So, but again, you don't know what you don't know,
You don't know what you don't know. I'm on here looking at some of the questions. Your program is Power Over Money. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, somebody asked what it was called. But if y'all just DM us the word money, we'll get you more information. There's some other questions on here, but y'all, I can't.
You can't see them?
Can't see them. Sorry, guys. Can't see them. Drop your questions in the chat if you have more questions.
I definitely can't see anything.
So, time is flying. We've been on here for a minute, actually. Is this helpful for y'all? For our OGs who've been on here the whole time? Is this helpful for y'all? Thank you, Belvin and Maya. I appreciate you. Yeah, if you guys are just looking for more gems, click the link in my bio. Head over to the podcast, is literally what it's called. In our podcast, Melanin Millionaires Club, the Melanin Money Show. Sorry, the club is the community. The show, the podcast, we have, I don't even know what episode we're on. We have like maybe 40 episodes. And today somebody DM'd me and was like, yo, I listened to all of your podcast episodes. Do you have more? Like, am I overlooking it? I'm like, you listened to 40 podcast episodes in like 3 weeks? And you're a beast.
Yo, they ready to get the knowledge.
Like that's amazing. But one of the things like that I focus on, like I have my inner circle of mentees, and we're about halfway through our 45-day program. And one of the things I focus on with them is just earning more money. That's one of the things. Like, I think there's 2 things that we have to focus on. Like, is one, just earning more money. How do we get more money into our bank accounts, our investment accounts? And then, do you guys know this stat? I talk about it a lot. Have you caught this on another live or something where I ask what percent of real estate is owned by white America?
Oh, I don't know.
Like, we know that's the majority. So let's be honest here, okay? Let's just be honest, all right? Do y'all know? Type it in the chat if you know, like, what percentage. And it's not a dig. It's just me saying, like...
Can I guess?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to say, I don't know, 80%.
Also 95%, 98. Larissa
Oh
says
my gosh,
80,
stop. 95?
90%.
We gotta change that.
Look, it doesn't matter. Like, y'all are all on point. But yeah, it's around like 82%. And you can check it with Bloomberg. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
close. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. That should make you feel some type of way though if if you look like us, right? And if you look like us, we just need to buy more real estate. We need to own more.
It's the way to wealth. It's the true way to wealth.
We just
That's
need
great.
to own more land.
Yeah.
So those are like two things that I really promote for my women. I'm like, look, we got to figure out how to get you paid, unapologetically paid, okay? Because I have a mentee and she was like, well, I feel uncomfortable like bringing people into my business and not paying them what I am paid. And I'm like,
Not paying what?
that doesn't even make sense.
She's uncomfortable with not paying them?
With not paying them like what she gets paid for an actual like, transaction. And I was like, huh? She was like, I feel like I'm shorting them. I said, ma'am, that's not how that works.
No.
You're bringing somebody into your business who gets consistent pay and consistent work based on the contracts that you've gone out and that you have, risked your money for, your time, your effort, your energy, all of that to bring them a steady paycheck. You're providing them with a job.
Right. You take the infrastructure. What?
It was like, I'm taking advantage. I said, you're not taking advantage of them.
That's value. That's
not how it works.
You're offering them an opportunity.
So I was like, no, we gotta change that. We gotta change that thought process. Right? Yeah. Like, you deserve to have a full bank account. You deserve to be able to take 48-hour trips whenever you want to and to dip off to Mexico on your own. Like, you deserve to be able to do that just at free will.
Right. And it's like, I like to encourage people to too, like, look at the value you're offering. A lot of times we want to look at like the actual dollars themselves, but money represents the value that we're bringing and what we're exchanging with other people. So if you can just see the value that you're bringing, how many people are you putting on? How many people are they helping and serving? Like, she is all a part of that. So when we actually look at the value that she's bringing to the world, period, it's like, sis, stack them coins and be happy.
I mean, Bezos really put it the best way, right? Like, people are like, oh, why isn't he, spending all his money to do this? And like, he's just harboring all of the wealth and blah, blah, blah. Like, do y'all know he only owns 14% of Amazon?
Right.
He doesn't even own the whole company, right?
Yeah.
So he's created, and I don't even know what the numbers are right now, but let's just say like it's like, 800 million. Like, he's created $800 million of worth for other people. Like, I have clients who work for Amazon who make $250,000 salaries plus stock like options, right? So, my clients are bringing home $500,000 a year from his company that he built. So how can y'all say that he's not providing value for other people, that he's not providing money for the economy, right? Like, he's paying $500,000 salaries.
Right.
Okay. So like, you can be in that position too, where you're paying these salaries to other people. You're changing other people's lives. Like, you're building up other people's lives. In the same breath, you are just taking control of like what's out there in the universe for you.
Exactly. And you know what? This reminds me of the like quote that JayZ said in one of Drake's songs. I forget the actual song itself, the name of it. Actually, I don't know any of the names of the songs. I just know the lyrics. But JayZ's like, we know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. Like, people want to count the dollars and cents and see, okay, Bezos is making this. Bezos, does this and does that. He should be doing this with his money. But do you understand, like what you said, the value that he's offering the world? We get to have packages at our door sometimes same freaking day. What? That's unheard of. Are you kidding? Like, what? And again, all of the people that are employed, the infrastructure that goes along with that, like, what? We got to understand the value, people. You got to understand the value. Once you understand the value, like, money will not, will be attracted to you so much. It will not be able to stay away from you, right? But we can't be judging what other people are doing or what we think people should be doing with their own money. When you judge what other people are doing with their own money or what you think they should be doing, you actually push it and reject it from your own life, right? But start recognizing the value that they're bringing, because it's a lot easier for you to start to be able to see where you can bring more value as well in your life and in your business. And that's
No,
what
that's a key point. Like, you literally do not have time. And I wish there was another way to put that, because I don't feel like that really hits people like I want it to. But you do not have time to be focused on what other people are doing. Okay.
Right.
There's a certain point in life where you do have to do some research. Like, you do have to do some research to kind of figure out, like, okay, what am I trying to do? Who is doing what I'm doing? Like, do they have a blueprint, or do I have to become the blueprint, right? Like, you have to like figure that out. You have to dial in on that. But then at a certain point, like, once you figure out what you're doing, or once you have the blueprint for what you're trying to do, you have to cut off all distractions. You just have to cut off all distractions. Like, when I was really building like the bulk of my wealth, I wasn't even on social media. And
girl, what?
people don't realize that. Like, you can get so distracted on here so easily. TikTok makes me want to buy all the things. It's so easy to get distracted. Like, you have to stay focused. And anytime you start wondering, how does that person pay for that? How do they buy this? How do they do that? Like, you're getting distracted, sis. Like, redirect your focus, okay? Get back on task.
Yeah.
So we
need you
have
over here. Not over here. I'm just saying, we need you over here, sis. Like, right here, not over there. Right? Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. This is a good question, Maya. This isn't money related, but Jacqueline, what's your makeup routine? Where do you like to shop for clothes? How do you budget beauty and wardrobe expenses? So first question, makeup routine. I like to do like a tinted moisturizer. So I'll take I have sensitive skin, so I can wear like NARS. So I'll do like NARS foundation with like some moisturizer, tinted moisturizer, ready and go. If I'm doing a podcast, I might pop on like a little bit more. I might do a little bit heavier coverage, but that's about it. I do use like more expensive makeup, and I want to hear your routine too, Lorisa. But I do use more expensive makeup because of my sensitive skin, and like, I just don't want all of those toxins. So I try to use like as clean of makeup as possible. So like, I have like a vegan like eyelash glue and like stuff like that. So I try to use like healthier stuff, if you will. Even like my like skincare products, because like, ladies, that's the key. It's not the makeup, it's the skincare. Okay, get the skincare on point. All right, you gotta drink. I promise you, you have to drink lemon water. This has mint in it, but if you're doing lemon water, like, that really changed my skin up. Like, it made my skin a lot more vibrant, clear, like less breakouts, just drinking like lemon water a lot. And then, I love me a good little sale, a good little discount on some clothes, okay? Some of my clothes are custom because I have a friend here who does like custom clothes. His name is Rodis. What is his? RHODIS. If you go to like my friends and just search for him, like, he does like my custom clothes. So like, a lot of my suits are custom by him. And it's really not that expensive, because the cost of suits and like just having them for so long and then being tailored to your body and being like better material, like, I do splurge on my suits. But yeah, this is literally what is this? It's not Fabletics, but I can't remember what brand this is. But it's like a little, girl, this is like a little athleisure thing. It was probably like a $15-20 top, to be completely honest. Like, nothing crazy. But Lorisa, what do you use?
I'm not really like a routine. Like, it's not really like anything fancy. I just use like Cetaphil to clean my skin. I use like rose water to spray afterwards, and a light moisturizer. And I try not to do a lot of makeup because I do have a tendency to break out. So I don't wear makeup day to day. If I'm going out at night, then I might wear some, but like, I try my best not to, just because it's like, I be wanting to, but then it's like, I be coming up with like a breakout after. So I don't tend to use a lot of makeup. And then as far as clothes go, honestly, I don't spend a ton of money. I don't spend a ton on expensive like clothes. I'm like a Target person. Like, if I do buy, and I'm not gonna lie, I do buy luxury items. I tend to, if I'm gonna buy luxury items, it may be like a watch or like shoes I'll spend, or a bag. And when I buy luxury items, I actually make sure that I have at least the same amounts. So if I pay like $900 for sneakers, I put at least $900 to $1,800 extra in stocks. So that is my way to like promote investing for myself, because I wasn't always like necessarily excited to invest. So, but sometimes I am excited to buy something. So if I'm going to buy that thing, then I need to make sure I have the same amount to put away or double that amount to put away in something. So
Yeah,
that's
I
kind
love
of
that. I became a minimalist at the beginning of my financial journey, and that was probably one of the best things that I could do. Everybody has like a different definition of minimalism, but for me, it really just boils down to quality over quantity. So you probably won't see me with a whole lot of items. You'll probably see me wear the same thing more than once, right? But for me, it's more so about like, okay, is it quality? Do I like it? How do I feel in it? Like, I don't want to just accumulate a bunch of things just because they were cheap or whatever, just to have. Like, I really want the things that I have to make me feel good. So, you know, that's kind of how you'll see things with me. Like, literally, like when I started my minimalism journey, I cut down to I had like one pair of workout shoes, one pair of basketball shoes, like two pairs of like work shoes. Like, it was a little, it was too much. Okay, I'll be honest, it was too much. But at the beginning of my financial journey, it was perfect because it allowed me, one, to figure out like, what do I really want out of money? Like, what is the end goal? At the end of the day, what am I really striving for? Right? Like, is it money in itself, or is it freedom, or, you know, is it the ability to have my time? Like, what is it that I'm really focused on? And becoming a minimalist helped me to hone in on that. And then it just helped me to realize like what's really important in life. Like, especially as a single woman and like getting out of an abusive relationship at that time, I was like, okay, what do I really want out of like money? What do I want out of like dating and relationships? Like, am I focused on him having X, Y, and Z and doing X, Y, and Z, or am I looking for something else? Right. So all of those things just really helped me just as a woman. We had a request. Somebody wanted to come on. I think we have what, about like 5 minutes left. Do y'all have any questions? Anybody want to be brave enough to request to come on and ask their question live, and we'll take like some live questions.
In the meantime, what made you get out of the abusive relationship? Props to you for doing that, by the way. I'm sure that was really. And you don't have, if that was too much, we don't have to talk
No,
about
no,
that.
no, 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 no. It's so it's weird. I don't know. This is kind of like what I explain to women. Like, you'll see a friend, right? And she'll be in a bad relationship. Like, he'll be, you know, cheating on her, abusive, you know, whatever it is. Or maybe she's just not happy in that relationship, like, period. And she's just staying where she's not celebrated, right? And you'll see women doing that. And you'll want to say to her, like, sis, get out of that relationship. What are you doing? You're being stupid.
Right.
Da, da, da. Like, you're not valuing yourself. All of those things, like, you want to tell a woman that. But the truth is, like, she'll leave that relationship when the time is right, assuming she can safely leave, right? Like, assuming there is an out for her. She will leave when she's ready. And so for me, like, it took a lot of time for me to build up the strength to be able to say, like, okay, I don't need this relationship, because my significant other at the time had a multi-million-dollar net worth. I did not. He was way more knowledgeable about how money worked. I did not. Like, I wasn't there yet. And so and we were the same age, for people who ask. We were the same age. He's like a year older than me. But at a certain point, like, you just get tired of like the abuse. You get tired of somebody putting your hands on you. Like, you get tired of somebody devaluing you. So I can remember like the last probably 2 years of the relationship, me saying, okay, what did I say? I said, I think I kept telling him like about my worth, and I was like, yo, I'm worth more than that. I'm worth more than that. I'm worth more than that. And I remember him coming back to me and being like, stop telling me about your worth. You stop telling me. I don't want to hear you're worth this, you're worth that. But it was literally me having to convince myself, like, okay, no, like, you are valued, you are valuable, like, you do bring more to the table, right? And you just, I had to learn, like, I had to keep telling myself that to keep owning it, to eventually leave out of the abusive relationship, right? Like, it takes time to do that. And so
Yeah.
Even now, I extend grace to my friends. Like, shout out to if any of my lady friends are watching this, and you know, and I know, and he knows, and we all know that you're in an abusive relationship. He's not treating you right. He's cheating on you. You know who you are. And I tell you, like, I'm like, look, you have to get out of that relationship, like, but you will leave on your own time. So I'm not going to keep reiterating that, like, all this stuff, but you know, you need to get out of that relationship, right? And you need to make a promise to yourself that you won't go back, because that was the thing. Like, it's always so enticing to revisit that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always like, okay, that person will be there, and you want to cycle back, and you want to da-da-da-da-da, right? Like, he even circled back when my dog passed, and I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like, you had to promise yourself, like, okay, I'm not gonna go back to that.
Right.
So
Wow.
Ariana has a question. Do you want to let her in real quick?
Sure.
Well, I'll let her in, but
yeah, I don't know if I can, but yeah, sure.
All right. Come on, ask your question, sis. Hopefully we can help you. Hey, how are you?
Hi ladies. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much. I jumped on kind of late, so I don't know if you've already answered this question, but I wanted to ask for the both of you, what's the best piece of financial advice that you've received that you feel like made the biggest impact in your lives?
Good question.
That is a good question. Do you want to go first?
What you got, Larissa?
So I don't want to be profound to you, but it was very profound for me, because at the time, I didn't realize I was allowed to do this. So I used to be a registered nurse. I'm not a registered nurse anymore. I'm a full-time real estate investor and entrepreneur. But when I had moved back from Virginia to my home state in Pennsylvania, I had been a nurse for about 4 years and in critical care, and I found a new job at a hospital in critical care. For a while, though, I had been like, this isn't really enough money. I need to find like another job closer to the city so I can get paid more. So I started talking to this guy who worked with me, and we were comparing notes because he was looking for a new job too. And then we got on the subject of what he was getting paid and what I was getting paid. And I found out that he was making like $1 more than me an hour. Now, $1 more now is just like $1 more, but then I was like, you're getting $1 more than me an hour? Like, how are you getting $1 more than me an hour? I came to this job with 4 years experience. You came as a brand new nurse. How are you making more than me? So he was like, I just asked for more. And I was like, wait, you can ask for more? Like, what? So at that time, I didn't realize that I could ask. And so I went to my new job. Well, I went to the new place that I had applied to, and they had asked me to start working there. And I was like, you know what? I know what to do now. I'm going to say what I'm worth. I'm going to articulate my value. I'm going to ask for, this amount. No matter how much they offer me, I'm going to ask for more. So I went there and I asked for more, and they told me no. So I was like, yo, I just got the confidence to ask for more. You told me no. But what that did for me, though, was that turn on a switch to know that, oh, I'm valued at more. I can ask for more. And if I want more, I will get more. Yes, my job said no, but that allowed me to like around that time, I started investing in real estate. So my job said no, but I was able to give my own self a raise with getting property. So that kind of just flipped the switch for me, that I determine what I am valued. And if you're not going to give me that, I will get it from somewhere else, period. So
that's a good piece of advice.
Thank you.
I think for me, it was when I was studying for my CFP, okay? And my story is not as beautiful as Larissa's. It's a little bit uglier, but hopefully it's helpful.
Not beautiful, but anyway, go ahead.
Hopefully it's helpful, okay? So I can remember I was renting a room. I was studying for my CFP. It was like 2015. And I had forced this woman to be my mentor, right? By force, I mean, I just kept messaging her with questions like on LinkedIn. Like, that's how I created this mentorship, right? So she had been in the industry for like 10 or 15 years. And so, I would just ask her questions. I'd be like, hey, I know you're a CFP, right? And she would answer my questions. So it was like an informal mentorship in my mind. So we'd gotten on the phone one time, and she was like, hey, check this out. She was like, you see this guy? He's making money online teaching people how to make budgets. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, good for him. Like, I'm focused on my CFP, right? Like, I was like, I'm becoming a certified financial planner. I'm going to work with people who have millions of dollars. Like, it's going to be so great. And I was like, okay, what he's doing, like, that's cool, whatever. So I go on about my business. So fast forward, of course, to like, well, at that time, I think I'm making like $40,000 a year, maybe. Like, I'm fresh out of college, not making any money. Meanwhile, like, when you start to learn how numbers work, I realized, like, I'm like, wow, this guy could have very easily been making $100,000 a year because, you know, $274 a day is $100,000 in a year. $274 a day is $100,000 in a year. So if you can figure out how to make $274 a day, you could be making $100,000 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the numbers. Like, I didn't get that breakdown at that point. Like, I was so focused on, no, I want to do this thing that sounds bright and it sounds fancy and it sounds shiny, that I wasn't focused on, like, okay, how could I achieve freedom as quickly as possible, which was really the end goal for me. I just hadn't connected the dots yet. So I wanted to do what sounded good, right? Like, a lot of us want to do what sounds good, right? It's like, oh, well, it sounds good for me to own X, Y, and Z, right? Like, oh, in Larissa's case, like, oh, it sounds good for Lorisa to say, like, yeah, I own 3 like multi-million-dollar mansions. But it's like, sis, actually, you don't make a whole lot of money from the multi-million-dollar mansions. You make most of your money from owning the duplexes.
Houses in the hood. We got houses in the hood.
And the apartments, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's where you make the money from.
Right.
But you're so focused on what's shiny and what sounds good and what you can use to build your resume, especially because as women, like, and as Black women, we are at the bottom of the totem pole, right? Like, we feel like we have to have these flashy things and these titles and all of this to make us seem worthy, right? So you want to buy that multi-million-dollar mansion when that's not really what's going to help get you to the end goal that you're trying to get to. Right. And that was something that nobody had pointed out to me at that point. Like, I couldn't take what she was saying at the time because I wish she kind of would have smacked me in the face and been like, look, this is how this works. Mm-hmm. That's how that works. Yes, that's how that works. Like, nobody pointed that out to me. So it was like, I had to learn that the fanciest, shiniest, you know, piece of gold that glitters, you know, isn't always the most profitable for your investment portfolio. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that was probably one of the most important lessons that I learned, because even nowadays, like, all of us, we want to buy the fancy stock. We want to buy the Apple, the Home Depot, the Facebook, but that's not what's going to have the highest returns in most cases, right? It's the ugly things that we don't want to focus on. It's the houses in the hood that's going to bring you the greatest return, right? As an individual, as a woman investing in yourself, it's doing the things that make you uncomfortable. It's taking that 48-hour solo trip. It's going to Mexico City randomly to get in tune with yourself, right? It's those things that are ugly to us, the most ugliest to us, that help bring us the most success and make us, you know, the most money, bring us the most confident, you know, and all of that bleeds over into your finances, right? So long story long, I think that's probably the most important lesson that I learned. So I hope that that's helpful for somebody.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes, no
Thanks
worries.
for coming on. Make sure you shoot me a DM, and just shoot me a DM, and I'll make sure I send you probably like one of my ebooks or something that could be helpful for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Bye.
Anybody else want to come on? Hey, Jalea, how are you? You know, it's International Women's Day, so we had to come on here, talk to the ladies, do our thing. Y'all make sure you click on the eyes up here and you're following Lorisa. Make sure you're getting all of the gems that she's dropping, all of the reels. She's funny, y'all. I promise she's funny.
Thank you.
Let's see what else was on here. Somebody said, what are ugly stocks? Ones that have really potential, have a really I thought y'all had 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes. Huh?
Did somebody say I thought y'all had 5 minutes?
Yeah, we're on women's time. You know how you're like, oh, I'll be ready in 5 minutes? Like, that's the type of time.
Yep.
Ugly stocks. So ones that have potential for really high returns, right? So like, uh, I ended up buying, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the company NIO. It's like an EV company. I ended up buying them at like $10 a share. Not too long after that, they shot up to like $60 a share, right? So y'all do the math on that return, but the return was exponential, and that was within like a year of buying that, right? Like Apple stock didn't have that same kind of a return. So that's kind of what I refer to when I'm saying like ugly stocks. But I'll talk about more of that like in the Never Broke Again course. But yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock here. It's almost time for the nighttime routines, you know? Time to get off here. Any last minute words for the people?
Me? Never give up. Keep going, never give up. I don't have any last minute words. No.
That's what y'all get. She said, don't give up. Okay. I mean, that's a good point. I would like to say to these women on International Women's Day, yeah, like find that tenacity, like dig deep down inside and make that promise to yourself of like, I promise myself. I think it's stronger to say I will never instead of I'm going to. Like I just promised myself, okay, I will never be broke again. Instead of promising myself I'll be rich, I just was like, I promised myself I'll never be broke again. Mm-hmm. I promised myself I'll never be in another abusive relationship again. I promised myself that I will, get up at 5 a.m. every morning and, do my affirmations and blah, 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 right? Like you make that promise to yourself because the most important promises that you'll make in life are the promises to yourself. Because at the end of the day, you came into this world by yourself. You're going to go out by yourself. Like it's just you and you versus you and you doing all of the things. Like that's what it is. So I just think you need to make that promise to yourself.
Absolutely. You have the power over money. And I'm done. That was good. That reminded me of like Martin Luther King. Mm-hmm. Your speech at the end. No, your speech at the end. Your last word. It was really good.
I appreciate it. Well, y'all make sure that you click the eyes up here. You're following both of us. You can keep up with us for these gems. DM either of us the word money to get any more information about what we were talking about on this live. I'm going to make sure that this is reposted for you so that you can share it with any of the other ladies in your life, right? Make sure that we're circulating this good information. Do not be selfish. Okay? Right. It's not the time to be selfish. All right? We love and appreciate y'all, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.